We've had people talk about the inability to visit and take care of grandchildren, the inability to fuel their cars to go to work, the inability to even buy groceries because of the profound cost that we've seen related to energy, related to gasoline. But this shouldn't have been a surprise to anybody. During the campaign, President Biden said, we're going to phase out fossil fuels. I guarantee you we're going to end fossil fuels.
No more drilling on federal lands. No more drilling, including offshore. No ability for the oil industry to continue to drill, period. No new fracking.
Have a transition from the oil industry, yes.
Would there be any place for fossil fuels, including coal and fracking, in a Biden administration?
No, we would work it out. We would make sure it's eliminated.
We are going to get rid of fossil fuels.
I've argued against any more oil drilling or gas drilling on federal lands.
No one's going to build a coal-fired plant again, and we're going to get rid of the ones we have now.
Let me quote a former Treasury official for the Biden administration. Lower gasoline prices undercuts the administration's climate change goals. We're really to care about fossil fuel consumption. We don't want lower prices for fossil fuel buyers. We prefer higher prices. They nailed it. They nailed it. The problem is the impact to the average American. We can't afford this. It is undermining our ability, like I said, grandchildren, groceries, energy bills. We can't even afford to live our lives.
Would you be willing to sacrifice some of that growth, even knowing potentially that it could displace thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of blue-collar workers in the interest of transitioning to that greener economy?
The answer is yes.
And the Secretary of the Interior, the cabinet official responsible for producing American energy, said, I'm wholeheartedly against fracking and drilling on public lands. Incredible, incredible statements. I'll say it again. None of this stuff should be a surprise to anybody. This is a post we put up on January 27th of last year. And we said, as a result of President Biden's energy policies, this is exactly what's going to happen. Let me say it again. January 27th of last year, 6 days after some of these policies. We're going to have higher electricity bills, higher prices at the gas pump, lost revenue for hurricane protection and flood control and coastal restoration because there's revenue sharing and that's where these dollars go. I have no idea what the president is going to tell these communities whenever we end up having another hurricane in the Gulf Coast. Higher delivery costs that would be passed on to consumers, more dependence on foreign energy sources like Iran, like Russia, like China, and other countries that don't share American values, and a net increase in global emissions, which I remind you, Mr. Speaker, under President Trump, we saw emissions go down an average of 2.5% a year. Under President Biden, we've seen them go up 6.3%. So why is this happening? We've seen this administration try and blame price gouging, try and say that we're going to fix it through the Strategic Petroleum Reserve releases. As a result of their announcement to release all of this oil, guess what's happened? China's bought some of it, and others, we've actually moved it from one storage cavern to another, and are paying to store it in the other place. It doesn't even make any sense. Meanwhile, prices have only gone up. I have a feeling Bigfoot and the Loch Ness Monster are going to be the next responsible entities for higher energy prices. Don't take my word for it. Look, Blackstone CEO said we're going to end up with a real shortage of energy. What happens when you have a shortage of supply? Prices go up. And when you have a shortage, it's just going to cost more, and it's probably going to cost a lot more. Exactly what we've seen. The Blackstone CEO says if you try and raise money to drill holes, it's almost impossible to get that money. They prevented access. So here are the real reasons. This administration came out and in the first day issued an executive order saying that they're going to ban new oil and gas production in the United States. We've nearly tripled, under this administration, under the Biden administration, nearly tripled dependence on Russian oil. They imposed, through this House of Representatives, passed a bill up to $10,000 a mile a year pipeline fee. They've increased royalty rates through this House of Representatives by up to 50%, and the administration unilaterally announced the same thing. Mr. Speaker, what happens when you impose higher cost? You think that the money just invents itself? No, they pass it on to consumers, and boy, have they nailed it. They've nailed it. Congressman Westman and Congresswoman McMorris-Rodgers have legislation that unlocks American energy, allows liquefied natural gas terminals to be permitted, reduces the regulatory burden. It ensures that the Keystone pipeline can be built. Not the policies that Democrats are advocating for, where in the United States Senate Democrats said they want to urge Saudi Arabia to use their swing capacity to increase world oil supplies, or the current run-up of world oil prices is effectively a tax on American energy families' discretionary budget, except that the money goes to the OPEC cartel rather than the U.S. Treasury. Actually, on this one, Mr. Speaker, I fully agree. I urge that we defeat the previous question, we unlock America's energy resources, and we lower energy prices for all Americans.